Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this week on the Extra Point Show.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We have a very interesting week of things that have happened, so we'll get into those.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, first and foremost, biggest breaking news of the week is we have our first official coach firing as far as performance goes. We obviously knew that John
Well,
Gruden.
not just performance, but
Well,
we know it's not just performance.
yeah. It's a kind of a mixture of things which we'll get into. But yeah, we reported earlier on the John Gruden having to resign slash be fired after 5 games, and now after 13 games into his first season, Urban Meyer is out as the head coach in Jacksonville.
Yep, I don't think that really comes as a surprise to anybody, given his actions throughout the year.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of just waiting that to happen. Well, maybe they'll wait to the end of the season, but yeah, given the things that we've heard and the way he's behaved with the team, it sounds like he's treating them like they're a bunch of college kids he can try and scare and act like
Yeah.
like an asshole, and that's not going to work in the NFL, man.
Yeah, I mean there's a certain, term, professional in the word professional athlete, and just I know I've mentioned this with you before in just conversations that we have, but I mean, Urban is used to running the college game, which is very different. Where, I mean, you really have control of the entire team. I mean, you hold these players' livelihoods in your hands with the ability to revoke, their scholarships or things like that. In the NFL, these players are contracted, and,
Yeah,
and
it's a
he's
very
not.
very different environment.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you pop off to, like, I know I've said this before to you as well. I may have even said it on the show, but if you pop off to Josh Allen, the Jaguars' big defensive end, like, I don't know how that's gonna go. And apparently he was going around, like, and we'll get more into the timeline here in a second. But yeah, I mean, it was a it's kind of been a situation that's been doomed from the start. So we've got a little bit of a timeline here.
I think I'd say since the week 4 incident is where it started. I was reading earlier that the team pretty much knew that they were going to fire him from at least like I'm. It could have said the beginning of the season, like before it started. I don't know, but it said very early on that they knew they weren't going to stick with him. So seeing him fired, I figured they might keep him to the end of the
Yeah.
season, but
Well, he was a splashy hire. I mean, he was, obviously he was
yeah,
head coach down at Florida. This is a man that won 3 national titles in college football, and funny that he didn't even win 3 games in the NFL. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's the latest of the most recent string of college coaches to get an NFL opportunity. The most recent one that comes to mind that kind of is almost very parallel to this situation was in 2007 when the Falcons hired Bobby Petrino, who was the head coach at Louisville, and he resigned after a 3-10 start, so also 13 games. He was another college coach that had made the jump, and he went back to college football after that. I mean, really, like more often than not, it's a move that doesn't work out. Obviously, in the case of Steve Spurrier with the Redskins,
yeah,
famed
absolutely.
college coach, won actually at Florida as well, same place Urban Meyer won.
Oh,
And
that's a
yeah,
weird coincidence.
yeah, Florida's been a good team in the college ranks for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, Urban or Spurrier was not successful in the NFL. I mean, really, one of the and I hate to admit it, and you know what I'm gonna say is the one that comes to mind, other than Jimmy Johnson, who was the old Cowboys coach and also the head coach at Miami, um, is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's the guy that came over, but Pete Carroll also had prior NFL experience with the Jets. So I mean, Pete's kind of done both for a long time. But you mentioned the incident of the week 4 situation in the bar, but I think that it even comes a little bit before that. Now, it started back in February when Urban was filling out his new staff when he brought in Chris Doyle, who was a former strength and conditioning coach at Iowa, who was
Okay.
dismissed by Iowa for mistreating players based on race. So after all this came out,
Oh,
Doyle would resign from Meyer's staff in Jacksonville the following day. So that was the first incident. Now, in May, I know you remember, Meyer does a favor for old buddy Timothy J. Tebow. I don't know if that's his middle initial, but he
I'm
brings
not
in
sure. I don't think it is, but
yeah, but he brings in Tim Tebow for a tryout at a position he's never played in the NFL,
and
tight end.
and hasn't played in NFL down since 2012. So
Yeah,
like, come on, man. Like I can get
yeah,
maybe like a YouTube, but dude, it's not. That's like almost 10 years.
yeah,
Like, are you serious?
yeah.
I
That's
mean, I think it was entirely a publicity stunt. Like they were
probably
doing it to sell some jerseys and some
get
autographs and
get
shit like
asses in
that. And
seats in Jacksonville. Yeah,
yeah, exactly,
I
because
get
they
it.
need it. So
I
I
get
mean,
it.
I that's there. I happened. I was like, I don't think there's a chance he plays at
Yeah,
all. But
yeah. Now, obviously, Tebow wouldn't make the 53 man, and he was cut after one preseason game after his terrible attempt that went viral on a block. Where you remember that where he just like whiffed on the block? That was terrible. That is George Kittle. Would have been.
he's the one made him cry, man. He's like,
Yeah, he's like,
what was
what was
that?
that? I've seen Jimmy make better blocks than that. Um,
Absolutely, actually.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean Jimmy will give effort. And then in July, so before the season even started, during team activities and OTAs and everything, Meyer and the Jags were fined for violating team rules or for organized activities. Don't know the full details on that, but that was just another straw among many.
Hey guys,
And
let's go to the strip club.
yeah, so that's three incidents before the incident. And then, of course, after an 0-4 start, when they lose to the Bengals on Thursday night, Meyer did not fly back with the team. He stayed in Ohio. He went to his bar and
Yeah.
proceeded to get lap danced on. and
Yeah, I mean, that one just to me that was the biggest thing because he didn't leave on the team plane. He didn't stay with the team.
yeah, man,
So like he
you
set
got to leave
himself
with the
up for
team.
failure by like that alone. Like
Yeah,
it seems like they could fire him for that shit, dude. You're the head coach. You can't
yeah,
just not. You can't do that. And then on top of it, he goes into a and does what he did, and it's like, man,
yeah.
come on, like
And
you should know better than that.
and like you said, they considered firing him because Shad Khan, the Jags owner, said Meyer must regain our trust and respect. So obviously his reputation was tarnished at that point. And
Yeah.
then, as if that wasn't enough, and like also, mixing in with all of this the fact that the Jaguars were 2-11 and trending downwards because their three most recent games were a 30-10 loss to San Francisco, 37-10 or 37-7 loss to the Rams, and 20-0 loss to the Titans. So they went from actually being a competitive team to just like really playing like shit. Um,
Yeah.
and then this past Saturday, Tom Pellisario detailed a staff meeting in which Meyer was delivering a message that he's a winner and his assistant coaches are losers, and
Dude, like what?
asking them to defend what they've ever won. Um, and
Oh,
then
look
there's
at you.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Like, and honestly, a lot of these coaches, like Daryl Bevel, the coach that takes over the offensive coordinator,
Mm.
Daryl Bevel used to be the Seahawks offensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. So technically, Bevel's done more in the
Yeah,
league
dude.
than
Like
than Urban has. I
I
mean,
didn't know he had said that. I read about the
yeah,
story and all that. I
yeah,
didn't know about that message.
yeah,
That's wow, man. Like
and
what kind of ego you have to do?
yeah.
I'm a winner, but all
It's
my staff are
it's
losers. Like,
almost
dude, it
like a
takes like a
god
lot more than
complex.
one. Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah,
no, oh my god. And then you know what? You see, he's crazy because when he uh, when he benched James Robinson
yeah,
for having
yeah.
one fumble, and
One
you're gonna
fumble.
bench somebody like that, like,
One of your best
dude,
players.
you,
Yeah,
like I just don't get it. Like
yeah.
it's like Antonio Gibson's fumbled like five
Yeah,
times this season, which was
yeah.
ridiculous.
And on top
Imagine
of
how quickly he'd have gotten benched.
yeah, and on top of that, I mean the Jaguars in that last game against the Titans ran for 8 yards, which is a franchise low ever. That's a fucking franchise low point. 8 yards in the game.
Jesus,
Yeah. So
that is terrible.
there's the James Robinson situation where he had the dispute with him, and then also a dispute with wide receiver Marvin Jones, apparently, where Marvin Jones left the facility and had to be coaxed by teammates and other coaches to come back. Now, Marvin Jones downplayed the situation with Meyer and said that, the two had a dispute, but they handled it like grown men. so he didn't have anything real negative to say about it. And Urban, when discussing the situation, said like he really downplayed it as well. But also later that day, the report would come out from the Tampa Bay Times that former Jaguars kicker, their first kicker of the season, Josh Lambo, was actually kicked by Urban Meyer in a preseason practice when
Yeah, I can't believe that, man. Like, what are you doing?
yeah
You're gonna kick an NFL athlete? Like, what,
yeah
dude? Like, I mean, yeah. What does that mean? He's been kicking college players all these years? Like, oh, you
I
fucking
yeah
fumbled. Come here, you piece of shit. And kicks him. Like,
yeah
damn, man. He needed to be fired. I mean, after hearing all this stuff, it's like,
yeah
sorry, bud, but
yeah. You
can't
you
do
just
that.
can't act like that on any level. Like that's not
Yeah,
that's
doesn't
you
matter
can't do
what.
that in
Yeah.
college either or high school, any
Yeah,
level.
of course not. I'm just saying. I think he
Yeah
thought he could get away with it in that kind
yeah
of situation. He's like, oh,
yeah
these are just kids. I can fucking kick them,
yeah
do whatever I want.
yeah.
Like, clearly, dude's fucked up.
And there's also been reports that he was referring to Lambo and the punter as like kicker and punter, and not even by their names, and also dipshit. And I guess like Lambo is like
What?
the fourth most accurate kicker in NFL history, but he started off slow. I think he was a little banged up or something, and they cut him after a few games. I think he was like
Guy from Urban kicking him. No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
Probably not.
maybe.
But
He did say the kick was a 5 out of 10, and I was like, if your kicker's not making kicks, kicking him in the hammy probably isn't a good way to get him to start making his kicks. I was like, that's
yeah, I mean, you got to wonder where he kicked him, and I would imagine it was in his
hamstring.
leg
He kicked him in the
somewhere.
hamstring. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it actually it says they
As
know, like we
yeah,
know that as a fact.
as he was stretching. Yeah, he kicked
Dude,
him in the
what?
hamstring. And Lambo said it was like he's like it wasn't like as hard as he could, but he's like it wasn't a love tap either. It was like 5 out of 10. So
Dude, what the
Urban
fuck? Who
Urban
does
made
shit like
contact.
that?
I was like, you're lucky Josh Lambo doesn't kick you back, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I was
dude,
like,
like what?
but yeah. So anyway, he was calling like Lambo dipshit. He's like, "Are you gonna make your kicks today, dipshit?" And like, it's like Jesus.
Dude, this
Yeah,
guy is a trip.
yeah,
Oh my
man. It's gonna
god.
be interesting to see if he comes back in college at any point.
Dude, I feel like he should not be able to. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I
This
mean,
this level of behavior.
everybody said a lot of shit about John Gruden, but if you asked the Vegas players afterwards, and they talked to Jacobs, they talked to Carr, all
John
those
Gruden is
players
not
love John
nearly as
Gruden.
bad as
Yeah,
Urban Meyer, I
all
would say.
those players love John Gruden. I mean, like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like fucking Urban Meyer, like John Gruden wasn't calling players pieces of shit.
Yeah,
Like
John Gruden was fine. And compared to Urban Meyer, John Gruden's a damn saint. I mean, all he
saint.
did was send a
some
couple emails that were a little,
some emails on
distasteful.
the machine.
Like they weren't great, but like that's all he did, man. It's not like he goes around kicking people and treating people like shit. Like
It,
I don't know.
Urban had a 5-year contract. Um, since they deemed him fired for cause. Um, they don't have to pay out the remaining 4 years on his contract. Now, of course, Urban can try to make that a big legal situation if he
I was
wants
gonna
to.
say, I imagine that he's gonna get lawyers involved, and they're gonna come to some kind of a settlement that's
Settlement.
significantly less than what he would have made in the 4 years.
That's
he's
what
gonna
John
get
and the
some
Raiders
kind of
did.
money.
Yeah, with that big.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say with Urban and the amount of things he did, like they might have some kind of argument to not
Yeah.
pay him, but with
Yeah.
the way the law works and all that, I imagine he's going to get something out of it.
For sure, absolutely. Now, after the report came out with the Lambo situation, Shad Khan said he wasn't going to rush a decision. But after Wednesday, when it was reported Urban left practice early and didn't return, so the coaches started installing a game plan without him. And around midnight,
Wow.
it was reported that he was fired, the midnight firing. So now the interesting thing about this here is, of course, fired after a 2-11 start with 4 games left on the season. But since they fired him, the Jaguars as well as the Raiders, since they've made a change before the season ended, can start interviewing head coaching candidates as soon as December 28th. So they can definitely get an early advantage in the next 9 days here as far as interviewing head coaching candidates that other teams can't do until they make a change at the end of the season. So potential for Jacksonville maybe to get it right this time.
Yeah, they need it.
Yeah,
Jeez.
absolutely. Now, another thing to talk about is, other huge news right now is the NFL has rescheduled its first rescheduling of the season, and it's moved 3 games, of course.
And that heavily impacts Washington. So very glad to see. But yeah, I'll let you continue.
No, yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and it does. And the 3 games that have been moved were the Raiders and the Browns, which was supposed to happen on Saturday, has been moved to Monday.
And
The
then Washington versus the Eagles,
Yep,
which is on Tuesday now, which is always a really weird game. And then also with the Seahawks and the Rams on Tuesday as well. So two
right,
two big divisional games were moved to Tuesday at 7 p.m. Which I like that 7 p.m. starts. Like it's not too late. You know, those 8:20 starts sometimes. I'm like, man,
yeah,
like well, that's a
yeah,
little late. Like,
pretty rough, yeah,
but I'm really happy to see that they did this because given the reason for this is because of the pandemic and the COVID that
yeah,
explosion that just hit the Browns, Washington, and the Rams.
yeah,
So
yeah. Especially the Browns and Washington. I mean, I know the Rams
yeah,
have players too. Like I know Von Miller
yeah,
and OBJ are on the list, but fuck, especially Washington and then the Browns. I mean, especially in the situation that like Taylor and Taylor Heineke, and
and
then
Kyle
Baker
Allen,
and
basically
yeah,
all the QBs. Oh,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
Baker,
yeah,
on
and
the
then
other
Baker
side of
for the
it.
and then also not even Baker but Case Keenum as well. So it's
Oh,
like
so there's okay.
they're
So it is
one
the
in
same
there
kind of
too.
thing.
Yeah,
Then
yeah, yeah,
okay, I didn't know Case Keenum.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's because they're always sitting next to each other and they're always
yeah.
talking.
In the
So
meeting
like,
rooms,
as soon as I saw Kyle Allen had it, I was like, well, Heineke's got it. Fuck.
everybody's
Like,
got it. Yeah,
although I mean, it's not a guarantee, but when you're that close, dude, and like, I don't know,
sitting in the
it
meeting
seems like
rooms in the
that. I mean,
quarterback
and
room.
them on the sidelines, like they're like looking at the tablet, and they're like inches apart from each other and shit, sitting there. So it's like I wasn't that surprised, but
Yeah,
apparently most of them are asymptomatic. But Washington had a total of like 30 players, I think I counted on the list, and not all of those were COVID. There was like some 8 or 9 injured players that were
right.
out already, but 30 players. I mean, that's like I remember when it was like 21, I was like that, or 22, I was like, that's literally a starting offense and defense. That's insane. And then now it's where it was over 30. I haven't. I know a couple players that came back. I know Terry's supposed to be back,
Yep. Terry's
which we'll get into
cleared
more.
the
We'll get
protocol.
into that
Yeah.
more later with the Washington part. But yeah, it looks like for both teams. Hopefully the Browns too for them. Hopefully a lot of their players are gonna, or at least some will be back for Tuesday because
Yeah.
nobody wants to see games like that are just like a practice squad team versus an NFL. It's just not
Yeah.
like I'd rather. People want to see it be competitive. So
Competitive.
I'm glad that they did this. And I know some people are going to complain about the other teams at least. Oh, we have a short week now, blah blah. It's like, well, you guys really just want to win a game against the practice squad? Like that's got to feel real great. But I'm
Yeah.
sure they don't really care. They're like, just give us a win.
Yeah. The Eagles players were none too happy. They're like, so we
No.
have to turn around and play another game on Sunday, and we have to suffer because of another team's mistakes. And they yeah. So the Eagles
Yeah.
players, especially Darius Slay, were none too happy. But it is what it is. And obviously, with that many players, the NFL finally deemed it, because this is the first time. And players are on the COVID list every week, but this is the first time the NFL deemed it necessary to move games. Whereas
Yeah.
you remember
I mean, with
last year
that
it
many,
happened all the
man,
time.
like
Yeah,
last year was. I mean, it was good in a way that they did that, but it was weird. But at least they made an effort to make it more fair. And I mean, I initially when this happened, most of us were like, well, we're screwed. We're playing Sunday. It's going to happen. But
yeah.
they did fortunately go ahead and change it. So even
I'm I,
the 2 extra days should make a big difference.
I'm happy to see it too because yeah, I agree. Like seeing those competitive games is what you want to see as a fan from a fan's perspective. And yeah, I mean, to gain a competitive advantage, I mean, the Browns, or I'm sorry, the Washington had 22 players. You've got a 53 man roster. That's like that's half your roster right there. It's like, what are you gonna do with that?
Well,
You got
there was 30 total with the
yeah.
injuries, but yes,
Yeah, I mean, you only have so many guys on the squad. You got to bring they got to bring guys off other teams' squads now, which is what they had to do. They had to bring in Jordan Tiamu at
right.
quarterback, and like do other things. And the Browns had to bring in Kyle Lauletta from I don't remember whose squad. He might have been on the Vikings squad, but yeah. And as far as that goes, put up the Goodell quote, but Goodell said in response to the pandemic. From the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, our focus has been to play our games in a safe and responsible way, consistent with the best available medical and public health advice, based on protocols jointly developed and implemented with the NFL Players Association. A key element of our success to date has been our commitment to working with our union and our respective medical experts to make needed adjustments in response to changing conditions. The emergence of the Omicron. Okay.
Like Omicron Persei 8 from Futurama.
Yeah, there you go. The emergence of the Omicron variant is precisely the kind of change that warrants a flexible response based on medical advice that we've instituted additional protocols as well as revised testing protocols for reinstating players and staff who have tested positive. Okay, so they say they're going to change their. And then he also said we have also considered whether certain games should be rescheduled in light of current conditions. So apparently they're changing the processes or protocols. We'll see how that goes. Sounds like a lot of like Goodell trying to say, blah blah blah. Like we
Yeah, that was like
bullshit.
that's a long quote. It was like,
Yeah,
man, geez, like
prepared by Goodell's publicist or
yeah.
person, because obviously he's probably like like a president where he doesn't write his own shit. Um,
Yep.
let's see here. Yeah, so we'll see if any other games get affected throughout the season. That'll certainly be interesting. But I mean, like we said, there's been players on the COVID list every week with every team. It seems like so.
Hmm.
Definitely have to follow that and see if any other games get rescheduled as a result. But I like the move overall. I'm with you on that. I think that it was a good move as far as the teams go, and obviously in two big games for teams, like Washington and also the Browns trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Certainly,
Right.
certainly key. That's huge. And what do you think about the Chase Claypool incident?
Yeah, I don't really get how a guy can let that happen. I mean, why were you celebrating?
Do you not know
Like
football? Do you not get the
why?
game?
Like what's going on,
Do
dude?
you not
Like
understand the clock? Not the clock. Maybe okay. Maybe he thought, and this is a really shitty justification because he's been in the NFL for a couple seasons now. But in college when you pick up the first down, which like let's do his little, because that's important. Like I get it. Hey, if it's the first quarter, and you pick one up. If it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
third
that's like
quarter,
a big
if
first
if it's the
down and
third quarter and you pick one up, hell, if it's the fourth quarter and there's 10 minutes on the clock, you know what? Go ahead and. But if it's fucking 30 seconds left in the goddamn game and your team's got no timeouts, maybe skip the goddamn, like that one time. Like just fuck, man, just get the ball to the ref so you can fucking get the
yeah,
spike
right.
in.
Kittle would
Jesus.
probably not. He'd probably get up and fucking run back to the line.
I mean,
He does that shit every time.
he's like,
His thing's like yeah, I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's something, yeah, whatever he does, but
Yeah, it's like it's a zero fear. Yeah.
oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, zero, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. That's like
All right, I
that's
didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. He does it. Yeah,
So yeah, Chase Claypool is the idiot of the week.
yeah,
We've never done that before,
yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe we'll start doing it
We're
because
gonna have to start.
it seems like a good idea for a segment
Dope,
because
dope, dope of the day. Dope of the day is
yeah.
Chase Claypool. So yeah, his own lineman runs over Trey Turner, 8-year veteran Trey Turner, to knock the ball out of his hand, and they're like, "Come on, dude!" And then after Ben spikes the ball, fucking Claypool proceeds to get in Trey Turner's face. Like, what are you doing? Like, I was like, dude,
Yeah, dude.
I was like, you can't be mad about that. And then so when asked about it after the game, you'd expect maybe Claypool to take some accountability. Wrong. He
Of
didn't.
course not. Of course
No,
not.
he said he's like the ball got knocked out of my hand, and he's like, and I got up and I looked for the referee, and there wasn't the referee, and he's like, I did my little first down point, and he's like the referee wasn't there, and I was like, dude, you fucking get up and run the ball, like get the ball to a fucking referee. Like he wasted like
Yeah,
12
dude.
seconds there in a
Yep.
situation where the Steelers got all the way down to the 12-yard line in a game where they were at one point down 29 to nothing. They come back. It's 36-28. They're down by 8, and they've got a shot. And when they got it all the way down to the 12 and they lost that 12, that's two more plays right there
Yep.
that he cost them. So huge, huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Dipshit.
Yeah, that was a rough moment. Yeah, I mean but like I said, potential justification, and I don't even know if I don't know if I finished the thought on this, but if in college you get a first down, it
Yeah,
stops the
you
clock
did say
briefly.
you did
Okay,
say
okay,
that.
okay, cool.
Oh wait, you
So
didn't say about the stopping the clock thing. You
yeah,
did
yeah,
not say
yeah.
that
So
actually.
so in
No,
college when
yeah.
in
That's
college when you catch the ball and you pick up a first down, it stops the clock for you at least to get set at the line temporarily.
I always forgot
So
about
I was
that. That's
like, maybe that's
so,
what he thought, but I was like, bro, you've been in the
bro.
NFL for
You've
a
been in
couple
the NFL a
seasons.
while, yeah.
I was like, it's different. It's different. You didn't get out of bounds.
Jesus,
Your team doesn't have any timeouts. You fucked it up. Dope of the day. Dope of the day.
absolutely.
Moving on. So week 14 was a crazy week of NFL action. It started off with the Thursday night game between the Vikings and the Steelers. I know we kind of talked about it. At one point, Minnesota was waxing that ass to the tune of 29 to nothing before the Steelers. Like I thought in this game, and don't get me wrong because I've thought this a lot and then been wrong. But I was like, oh fucking Ben's done. Like I was like texting like Flynn. I was like, this is the end of an era for Ben. I was like Ben's never gonna start another game for the Steelers again. I was like he's done. I was like this is as bad as he's looked. And then like in the fourth quarter, Ben comes back and plays MVP football and like
Yeah,
starts
I
leading
can't
them
even
back.
believe how the final score ended, and they
Yeah,
almost could have tied it, man. Like,
yeah. Except Chase Truckpool, like fucking running down and just like costing the team 12 seconds, which, as we discussed just a moment ago, was two more plays as the Pittsburgh Steelers got all the way down to the 12-yard line with down 8 with a chance to come back and tie that game and force overtime. Notable about that game. Dalvin Cook coming back from a separated shoulder to run for the season high so far, 205 yards on 27 carries and 2 touchdowns. So,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
solid
what a,
ass
what a, what a
game.
superhuman effort with coming off.
Coming back off injury, and
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
absolutely.
27 rushes for. I mean, damn.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, after the next game was an unfortunate end to the Washington win streak. We'll get into this
Eh,
one more later, but just to quickly
yeah.
cover, it was 27-20, but at one point it was 24-0, I think, maybe going into the third quarter. So
Hmm.
it was a painful game to watch. Yeah, we'll get into it more later. Dallas has won 7 of their last 9 road games versus Washington. Wonderful stat that is.
Yeah. Mm.
Next game, please.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Moving on. So, game that got somebody fired this week was the Titans 20 to nothing win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which moved
That
the
never
Titans
looks
up.
good.
Yeah, which moved the Titans up to 9-4 and the Jaguars down to 2-11. So the Titans still leading the AFC South. However, the Colts, after a win last night on Thursday Night Football, are now 8-6. So the Colts are right on their heels. But yeah, I know we mentioned this earlier. Jacksonville with a season low 8 rushing yards. That was the James Robinson benching game. I believe he got benched in that game. It might have been the game before that, but
I
definitely.
think I mean it would have made sense if it was. I actually couldn't say for sure, but it would make sense
I
if
think
that's why.
it was that game. Yeah, yeah.
Like, how do you only get 8 rushing yards, man? Like,
I
Jesus.
think they just weren't running it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks in that game too. So I'm
Yeah.
fully expecting Jacksonville to come out and beat Houston this week. So I think they're going to be playing inspired football under
Really?
under Daryl Bevel. Yeah, I mean they're all happy to get rid of Urban. I think they're going to come out and I'm not saying they're going to blow him out, but I do expect Jacksonville to win. So look
I
out
mean,
for
the
that.
Texans are terrible, so
Yeah,
I could agree with that because
yeah,
yeah, once again the Texans lost to the Seahawks
yep.
33 to
Speaking
13,
of,
which nobody was surprised. But you just kind of, and when the Texans win a game, it's shocking,
yeah,
honestly. So at least
yeah,
they got 13 points, good for them.
yeah,
Seattle's 4-1 versus them all time.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so the start of the Davis Mills era, because as I know we discussed, they're going back to Davis Mills. He had a good passing
yep.
game, but just not a lot of points produced.
Yeah, maybe with some time he'll get better.
Yeah, yeah. Also, another another wide margin of victory. The
Oof,
Chiefs
yeah.
beat the Raiders 48-9. Now at this
Mm,
point, the Raiders have lost. I think it's like 5 straight games. Like I think
I
the
think so.
Raiders have finally just like had. I think they're just demoralized at this point with all they've been through. 6-7 on the year. I think they've still got a chance at the playoffs. But the Chiefs are
Mhm.
9-4. They're leading that division. Um, they just really seem like they're starting to get hot at the right time, and that offense is starting to click again. And if they get hot
Yeah.
at the right time in the playoffs, then they're going to be a hard team to stop. And their defense is playing really well as
I
really
saw
well.
something about like I'm not sure where it was, but like some speculation that Derek Carr might be playing his last times
Really?
at Las Vegas, which I'm not. That's nothing like I don't know where I saw it. I saw some post somewhere, and I was like, huh.
Hmm.
I mean, if they continue to play like that, maybe they'll move. I
And
don't see why they would. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I
yeah,
mean, if they were to move
yeah.
on from him, that would be really stupid. But I did see that, and I'm like, oh, come to Washington,
Yeah,
bud.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Derek Carr, like I know I've told you a long time. I picked him up in fantasy. Like I've long thought Derek Carr is an underrated quarterback. I think he's one
yeah,
of the best in the league. Like I'd even put him at the back end of top 10. Like
absolutely.
yeah, like I think he's in that like 8 through 10 position. But
Hmm.
yeah, like I like him. Like he's always like over like almost 70% completion. Like he's just a really fluid passer and just a natural
Yeah, he's a
passer out of
very
the
good
pocket.
passer. When he
Yeah,
passes the ball a lot, the
yeah,
team he's on seems to
yeah.
do
I
well.
mean,
Imagine if you had Derek Carr
yeah,
with a team that had a really
yeah.
strong running game. Like,
Yeah,
ooh,
let's point this out. The Raiders were 3-2 when they had Johnny Gruden, Henry Ruggs, Zay Jones, um, Darren Waller healthy, Hunter Renfro. They were a hot team at the beginning of the year. This is just a team that I think has just been emotionally kicked in the ass like all season
and some
long. And I
injuries.
think
I mean, Darren
yeah,
Waller's out.
yeah, and I think it's finally just been too much. And I mean, I think that's going to be I think the Browns are catching them at a good time. I know the Browns are COVID depleted and injury depleted, but I think the Raiders are just emotionally worn out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, then the
The next game, the Saints beat the Jets. I almost said the Chiefs for some reason. The Saints beat the Jets 30-9.
yeah.
Not a particular game I care too much about, but it
Well,
was
I
New
mean,
Orleans' first win since
you
Week
should
8.
you should care about it because the Saints are right in the mix for that
Well,
wild card spot.
that's the only reason I would. But I it's one of those things where it's the Jets, so I kind of figured they'd win that game, and they
Yeah,
did. So, but they are yeah, it keeps them in that playoff race, or the
yeah,
wild card race, I should say.
yeah, yeah. So the Saints with Taysom Hill picking up the win over the Jets, starting Zach Wilson. Not much to really.
I think Taysom Hill. I don't know why I've always liked
Yeah,
Taysom Hill. Just the fact he plays so many different aspects of the game, it's cool.
yeah, yeah. It is interesting how they use him. Also, the Falcons, who are another team in that NFC wild card race, defeated the Panthers 29 to 21. So Atlanta has won for the first time in a while. I think that I know that we've got them this week, so hopefully we can pick up a win over them because the last time we played Atlanta in 2019, they definitely actually in 2019, and I think we played them last year too, and they beat us both times. So
Mm.
I know it's not the same Falcons team because they don't have Julio Jones anymore, and they've got a new coach. But I mean, this is a team that I'm not looking at as an easy win. I didn't look at Cincinnati as an easy win last week either, and I'm glad I didn't because they definitely gave us.
Yeah, that was a really close game.
It was to come down to overtime and then have the other team score first and then still win is extremely
Yeah,
rare. So yeah,
yeah.
but the Panthers, or I'm sorry, the Falcons picked up a win to go to 6-7. The Panthers, who are also in the NFC mix, are 5-8. So I'd say if the Panthers take probably one or two more losses, they're probably done in the playoff race. Um, you want to get the next one here?
Yep, the Ravens and the Browns. The Ravens unfortunately lost. Like I've said in the past, I kind of do like the Ravens. They got to pick an AFC team. It's usually them. So I like to see them win. But the Browns picked up the win, 24-22, moving them to 7-6,
Yeah,
and taking the Ravens down to 8-5.
yeah,
And Baltimore has lost two straight division games for the first time since week 16, 17, and 2016. So
yeah. And Lamar got knocked out of that game in like the second quarter, so Tyler Huntley had to
mm-hmm.
finish it and almost led him back to win. So
Yeah.
it's being reported that Huntley's going to start this week against the Packers, so he's got his hands full. So that could
Ah,
definitely
geez,
be another loss for the Ravens. But luckily they did. I
definitely.
mean, luckily for them, they do have a one game advantage. But they do have the Browns and Bengals right on their tail by one game, and then Pittsburgh's like two back. So that's a tight division race there. Also,
Yeah.
as pertaining to the NFC East, The Giants got smoked 37-21 by the Chargers. So not a surprise to see that. The Giants did start Mike Glennon in that game for the second straight game. Glennon is going to start again this week against Dallas, so he's going to start his
Oh
third
man,
straight game.
Dallas is getting another win then
Yeah.
probably.
It seems like it. Yeah, because
But you know what? We already kind of knew that they were going to win the division, which
yeah.
I've accepted that. So I don't really care as long as we can
I
maybe
mean,
beat them next week. That would.
maybe go Giants anyway. But yeah, probably the Giants are probably getting
Oh
smoked
yeah, I would
because
say go Giants for sure. They're
yeah,
4-9. I would
yeah,
much rather than pick up
yeah,
a win, and maybe by some miracle Dallas will just shit the bed and lose. But
maybe.
I don't know. I don't think so. I hope
Yeah,
they do that the following week though for
yeah,
sure because
yeah,
we really need that.
for sure.
But yeah, the
Yeah,
next game was another pretty much a blowout, very high scoring for one team. Broncos beat the Lions 38-10, but
yep.
it is the Lions. But
Yeah.
unfortunately,
So
they had their one win, and now they're back
yeah,
right back to losing.
yeah. I feel like that one win was just like it just emotionally drained. They just showed so much emotion and just like I know I put up the shot and I showed it to you of like Dan Campbell hugging Goff and just
Yeah,
like the emotion in that moment, like it's so great to see, but at the same time you just feel like they just lost so much in that moment. They're just almost like drained because it's not going to get that good again this season. They're going to have to wait till next season, I think, to win another game. But it was good that they got it. I'm glad that they won. I mean,
yeah,
they're giving Dan Campbell a 6-year deal there. I think they're going to give him time to turn it around. So hopefully, but that game was close. It was 17-10 at one point at halftime, and the Lions had a lot of players on the COVID list too. They had a player that I'd never heard of, like I think his name was like Craig Roberts or something, playing running back. I was like, who is this guy? So they were super depleted, but the Lions stayed in it for like a half. In the second half, the Broncos just proved to be too much. So the Broncos are 7-6. They're still in the thick of the AFC wildcard race. And also, speaking of wildcard races, the Niners stay in the NFC wildcard race in the sixth position with a 26-23 overtime win over Cincinnati, as we mentioned. Cincinnati picking up the field goal first in overtime. The game went to overtime 2020. Cincinnati got a 23-yard field goal, but with the new overtime rules, and if you hold them to a field goal, you getting a chance to score, gave us the opportunity to go down and score the winning touchdown. So that
and
was that
Jimmy
was
led
awesome.
a beautiful drive down the field, which we will cover more later. But
Yeah, 6 for 6. Yeah, so the Niners go to 7-6, and the Bengals drop to 7-6. So big news there.
definitely. And then the Bills and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers won another game, 33-27, putting them to 10-3. So they're going. We already know they're going to the playoffs. The
Yeah,
Bills dropped
yeah,
to 7-6.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll
Might be done if they don't start winning soon. I mean,
yeah,
they're
I
in
would
real
say.
trouble. Yeah, I
I
mean,
think the
but
Patriots are what 9-4, right? Or they're
nine and
nine and
five
five now.
now. Nine and
Nine and
five
five
now.
now. That's
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So then the Packers, no surprise there. Aaron continues his domination over the Bears. It was the second highest scoring matchup in that series history though. The all-time record is 82 points. This matchup had 75 in a 45-30 Green Bay win. So
That is
Green
a
Bay,
very high scoring game.
yeah,
75 points.
yeah, yeah. So Green Bay goes to 10-3. Chicago drops to 4-9 as we wait to see when the impending Matt Nagy firing will happen.
Wow, most combined points since 1955. Did you say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Second most in the history. In 1955, there was 82. Yes, we did mention that.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought this said there was there. Okay, I thought it. All right, gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So
And
82 is
then
the
the
most ever in one of those games. But go ahead.
okay, I see. Well, there's one other game to cover: the Rams and the Cardinals divisional game.
Yep.
Rams beat the Cardinals 30-23, which
Which is extremely helpful in a way.
yeah, definitely. I was surprised, honestly. I figured the
Yeah.
Cardinals would beat them, but
Yeah.
I also did not know that they had won 9 of their last 10 games versus Arizona. If I had
Yeah.
known that prior, I would have
Yeah.
probably been like, well,
The
they got their
NFC.
number.
Yeah. The NFC West is weird. Like the way that it works. Okay. Let me break it down real quick, and then we'll move on with this. So the Seahawks own us. We own the Rams.
Right.
The
And the
Rams own
Rams
the
own the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
And
It's
who owns
like
the Cardinals own no one, I guess.
The Cardinals, I guess, have been owning everybody this season, but yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
but in the division, though, I don't.
traditionally, no, they don't own anybody, but yeah, but that's usually how it goes. But the Chargers are kicking, or I mean, the Cardinals
That's
are
hard.
kicking ass. They're 10-3, but yeah, I mean, Kyler had multiple turnovers. He threw like 2 picks in that game, so that was a big reason why
Mm.
they lost that game, I think. So, but helpful for us. I mean, I think that our hopes of getting the division are out. Unless Arizona just totally falls apart the last 3 weeks. But still interesting to see. Might make the
I feel like there's
division
not
race.
enough games left. Even if they
Yeah,
lost all, I don't think it would matter. I think we're
exactly.
at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, exactly.
I think like they're almost guaranteed. Well, not
Yeah,
guaranteed. Not, no,
especially
of course
because the
not. But
Cardinals won. Like even if we finished with the same record, the Cardinals won both matchups against us, so they have the head-to-head.
mm,
And then
yeah.
also,
So
just last thing to cover here is the Thursday night game that happened from this week was the Colts picking up a 27-17 win over the Patriots. Another game where Jonathan Taylor just went off for like 170 rushing yards, got the Colts up to 8-6. So they're within one game of Tennessee, and the Patriots down to 9-5.
are you talking about the Saturday game?
The what? Oh,
The Saturday
Saturday.
game?
Yeah, I said
You
Thursday.
said Thursday,
I
and I
said
was like,
Thursday. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
Of
fucked
course, of
that
course,
up.
Saturday's a weird day
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
game. But I
right,
was like, we just watched that like last
right.
night,
It,
so.
it, it was just last night. Excuse my lack of knowing what the fuck's going on. It's a very busy schedule. I don't know what day it is. I know that there's football today. But yeah. Anyway, that recaps the Week 14 games. So just wanted to go through all those.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Redskins Rundown. Unfortunately, not a great week to cover at all. This has to be one of the worst games that I've seen in recent memory, easily last 5, 10 years. Like
Mm,
the second half wasn't quite as bad, but the first half, it was, and all the injuries and that what happened afterward. It was terrible week, terrible week. There goes our victory streak, our four-win victory streak.
yeah.
And of course, it had to come against Dallas.
Yep.
So
Drops you guys down to 6-7, but you guys still are in the seventh wild card spot. So if you guys can win
yeah,
against Philly,
yeah, we'll get more into the COVID situation and
yeah,
all that. I guess I'll recap this shit show of the game really
yeah,
quickly because
yeah,
I don't ever really want to see this game ever again. But
yeah,
Dallas started with the ball against us, and Washington defense that has allowed 45 points and 6 touchdowns on opening drive. Terrible stat. After a 13 play, 54-yard drive, opening drive, Dallas would take a 3-0 lead with a 35-yard Greg Zuerlein field goal. Washington's first drive started well. Seemed like things might not go the way they did with a 14-yard completion to Humphries on his signature route that he
yeah.
always does.
Humphreys,
I
Humphreys is
mean, I
solid.
actually don't remember for sure, but I would imagine it was because
No,
that's all he
actually,
ever
I
does.
actually think it was a deeper route, but it's he,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. Well, good.
yeah,
Caught something else.
yeah,
Yeah. So he got us a first down, but however, it ended in a punt after a third down pass by Taylor was almost picked and went right through Anthony Brown's hands while targeting Diami Brown,
yeah,
which was interesting to see the two Browns.
yeah,
I was like, oh, look at this
yeah.
little joke here.
I don't know why Brown. They only targeted him that one time, so it's interesting to see. He was like their high draft pick receiver, so it's interesting to
Yeah.
see him not get more looks,
Well, I don't
especially.
think Terry got many looks either that game.
Terry got 3 targets,
Yeah,
yeah,
three. It was three
and
targets.
then left in
So
the third quarter with after taking a huge shot with the ground.
yeah, we'll cover that in a bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was frightening to say the least.
yeah, for sure.
Um, so after that, Dak would trip on his lineman's foot while attempting to
Mm,
hand the ball off to Zeke, which was great to see.
yeah,
But he would recover it and set up a second and long, and Dak would throw deep on the next play. But the ball was intercepted by Landon Collins,
yeah, yeah,
who has just been having a fantastic last
yeah.
couple weeks since he changed positions.
Landon had a great game to go with that pick. He also had 2 of the Washington 4 sacks on the day, so he had
Yeah,
probably
dude.
his best game of the season.
I can't like why hasn't that man been playing linebacker like this whole time? Like
Because
what are you doing?
because he doesn't want to hit 230-pound running backs and
But he's
and
so good
linemen.
at it
I
though.
know.
Like
Well, you can
Jesus.
understand why he doesn't want, or and he
I
doesn't
can
want to go
understand
in there.
why,
Yeah,
but it's like,
yeah.
bro, come on, you got to do it. You're the highest paid safety in the league. Like,
No,
do what you're at.
do what you do.
Like,
Yeah,
come on. And thankfully he is now, because like that's one of the bright points of this game. You're right. Like because this game is, just thinking
yes.
about it makes me sick.
There were
But
positives for sure.
there were some positives in there for sure. Yeah. Landon Collins though, like everyone used to hate him, but now he's playing good. No reason to hate him.
Yeah, yeah. No
But
reason. No reason. Yeah,
unfortunately, after that, things went south as for majority of the game. Randy Gregory came back with an interception on a tip ball that would give Dallas back the ball. Dak connected with Amari Cooper on a touchdown to put Dallas ahead 9-0. Washington was calling for roughing the passer, which Dallas used as an opportunity to move for a two-point conversion.
Yeah, I was like, why the hell do you do that, McCarthy?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I guess that's what you do when you guarantee victory. You just try to.
Yeah, right. He's kind of just like, that's
yeah.
why. And it's like, fuck you, Fat Nick.
So they go up 11-0, and then fucking next drive, fucking goddamn Micah Parsons on a 4th and 3, Riverboat going for it, of course, because that's what Riverboat do. Riverboat's got to go for it at least 3 or 4 times a game, or it's not a Ron Rivera called game. And I like it about him. I mean, like, Big Balls Ron, it would be my nickname for him. So anyway, 4th and 3, fucking Heineke gets lit up by fucking Micah Parsons, some bitch, who the Redskins or Washington could have had. Which I know that's a debate. Like, he had like 2 sacks in this game, but he forces the fucking ball out. Dorrance Armstrong, for the Cowboys lineman, picks it up, runs it in for a fucking scoop and score to put the Cowboys ahead 18-0. And then that's just after 1 quarter. So really, they dug themselves into a rough point. In a lot of ways, like, I know that you look at this game as a negative, but
what do you mean? How else could it not be a negative? Like, come on.
I mean, obviously it's a negative, but I mean, like, what I mean is, like, when you say it's like the worst game ever, so, like, really,
not ever, but it's like one of the worst games. I mean, I would say the worst first half I've seen that I can remember.
I would say that really they didn't play that bad defensively, because had it not been for their offense putting them in with the 1 interception and the 1 fumble right there, in Dallas in 2 short drives, because Dallas really didn't score. I mean, what was the final score in that game? It was
27-20.
20. Yeah, so Dallas
which is not what I expected.
Yeah, exactly.
It was 24-0 at one point.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I think it was at the end of the second quarter. It was 24-0.
And like I was gonna say, like, Dallas had 18 of those 27 points in the first quarter. So, like, you guys really held them defensively. So to say, like, they didn't whip your ass or anything, like, so I'd look at it more as a positive. Like, especially playing Dallas in 2 weeks. Like, I think Dallas has a lot to worry about. I think that if Heineke played his worst game ever, and I think if that didn't happen, I mean, Heineke starts off 2 out of 7.
2 and 10. I remember seeing one time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. Exactly. And then at one point, like 2 for 10 for like 19 yards with 1 pick, and he would leave the game for 1 play, get replaced by Kyle Allen, who Kyle Allen would run for an 11-yard run for a first down. Heineke comes back in the next play. But then Micah Parsons gets his 2nd sack of the day, forcing another.
Yeah, dude. Fuck Micah Parsons. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
That motherfucker.
Another 3rd down sack, forcing another Washington punt. So Dallas adds a second quarter field goal to make it 21-0 at that point. So again, like 21 of their, 27 points scored right there. So really, like, especially in the second half, I noticed that you guys really, like, I mean, they had a more conservative game plan, but you guys definitely did a lot more against them too.
What's weird though is as the game progressed, numerous players got injured. Mm-hmm. So, and like, I don't understand how we managed to like come back, but the following drive and we pick up the first down, but then Charles Leno, the right tackle, would leave the game with a back injury and was replaced by Sadiq Charles. So just the numerous injuries that happened, and then like, I think we lost our, like, this coming into the next game, we have like a brand new center, or like the male model guy is going to be because all 4 centers are down.
Is it Toth, or is
John
it
Toth?
John Ismail?
John Toth.
Or is it Keith Ismail? I thought maybe.
It's John Toth.
Okay.
Keith Ismail also got hurt.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Jeez.
Like this game was just negative, and Harry gets hurt. All these, it's like, dude, I can't. It's hard to find. I mean, you are right about the defense. They did do well, but God, it's really hard to focus on the positives when this game was as shit show as it was.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, like, another positive is I mean, in addition to, we talked about them getting 4 sacks, John Allen, picking up his 7.5, picking up to where he has
7.5 sacks.
I was like, it's weird with the half sack to say it, because normally you just be like, he has 7 sacks, but picking up his 7.5
7.5.
sacks.
You could say
7.5.
7.5 too.
Yeah,
I guess that works.
fine. Yeah, we'll just go with that. Picking up his 7.5 sacks on the year. Now, what's interesting about that is Jonathan Allen's career high is 8 sacks. So, I mean,
Ooh,
he's potentially going to set a career high this year, and he's been
nice.
playing his ass off, so he deserves it.
He's going to. I would
Yeah,
bet. I would
yeah,
bet money on
yeah.
that. He's going to get 10 at
Yeah,
least, hopefully.
and that would stall the drive, hold Dallas to a field goal. So 24. So yeah, 24 of Dallas's 27 points in the first half.
Yep.
So I mean, you
Yep.
guys really like held out in the second half. I mean, I
That is
think there's
true.
a
That
lot
is
more to
true.
be positive about than I mean, if your offense doesn't put you in a hole, you guys have a good shot to win that game. Now, yeah, obviously first down offense was atrocious. 0 for 6 on third down.
Mm.
Taylor 2 for 12 for 19 yards, no touchdowns,
Oh,
one
it got
pick.
to 2 for 12 at one point. I
Yeah,
remember seeing
yeah,
2 for
yeah.
10.
And
Jesus.
and and a 4.9 rating. We were talking about how bad Cam's rating was the other day.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah. Um,
Uh,
so Washington would start with the ball in the second half, and they'd convert their first third down of the day, which was huge on the drive.
mm.
But um,
But see,
yeah,
this is where I led the positives. You're
yeah,
like, oh, it's no,
yeah,
no. Terry got hurt, man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't care what. And
yeah. Yeah, he took a big shot on his third target in a game where he didn't have any catches. You know, he was really shut out
yeah,
by Diggs. Diggs had him blanketed the entire game, but he,
yeah,
he left the game after a hard shot with the ground and with a concussion. But he has cleared the protocol, so that is good
yeah.
news.
That's
So
the
he's
good news
he's
for
gonna play.
Tuesday. He has
He's
cleared the
gonna play.
protocol, so very happy about that
Yeah,
because we definitely need him.
yeah,
But after that, Washington's second drive of the third quarter went much better, and it started with Antonio Gibson's best run of the day for 13 yards. Finally getting something going because
yeah,
the first half, like I said, that's got to be the worst first half I've seen maybe in my life. It was pretty bad.
yeah.
And then John Bates coming in and getting a 19-yard gain on a tight end screen.
Yep.
So good to see that he's able to produce something with Logan Thomas unfortunately out
Yeah.
probably for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But Washington finally capped a 7-play, 90-yard drive with a 42-yard touchdown bomb to Cam Sims. Beautiful pass by Heineke.
It was.
Absolutely
Oh my God, just
perfect.
like
It
hit
was,
him right,
yeah, it
falling
was
back in the
just
hands. That was nice.
like that. I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
Like, well, I think it was maybe towards the end of the game, but that was like one of the highlights of the game. That's probably
Yeah.
the biggest play of the game. That was a great pass,
It
great
was.
catch.
And that was
Absolutely.
with Diggs, the guy that had been blanketing Terry all game, covering him. So they're
Yep.
Dallas's best corner. So yeah.
Absolutely.
But then, of course, Dallas would go for two because that makes sense. With
You mean
24.
Washington? You
Or
mean
fuck
Washington?
yeah, Washington. I'm just used to like fucking the first half,
Riverboat Ron.
having to report on all that shitty Dallas scoring.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, anyway,
God.
Washington would go for two. Yes, Riverboat Ron, and it made sense because down 24, 8,
With
16,
only a
24.
half to play,
It makes it a
Oh yeah, and that
three
too, right?
score.
If
Yeah,
you
three
can
score
get two
game.
every time, you can
Yeah,
make it.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. So, and Heineke doing his signature
Yeah,
pylon
dude,
pose to
when
the
he
left
when he
pylon.
ran it in
Yeah,
and dove in like that, everybody, because I was at the bar watching the
yeah,
game, and everybody was just like, he did it again. Like that's like our favorite fucking thing,
yeah,
dude. When he
yeah.
does that, it's so
Yeah,
great.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
It's probably his favorite thing too. Like you know what I mean? Every
Yeah,
time he probably loves doing that.
I would imagine so.
So after that, defense would get the ball back after Dallas punt, but they would proceed to give the ball right back 2 plays later on Gibson's sixth fumble
Yeah,
of the season, which I believe is a high
NFL high.
NFL,
Yeah,
yeah, unfortunate NFL record that you don't want to have.
yeah. It's like
But
the
he also
Niners leading in
the
pass
highest,
interferences.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Doesn't he also have like the highest NFC rushing yards or something like
yeah. He's
that
got
too?
like 836 now. I think he's up
It's
to.
probably maybe it's not as high because he didn't get that many yards. I feel
No,
like on that game
it
because it
was
was
800.
800.
No, and then he had 36, and that he had 10 for
Yeah, so
36 in this
yeah,
game.
not great.
Not a lot of opportunities. Like his best run was that 13-yard run, though. So I mean,
Hmm.
obviously being down that much, you couldn't really run as much.
Yeah. After that, Dallas would come away with a fourth Zerline field goal to put Dallas ahead 27-8, which would be their last score of the game.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to mention too was the fact that you guys held them to 4 field goals on drives where they could have gone down and gotten touchdowns. So that's encouraging as
Yeah,
well.
that is true. So after that, this is, I mean, like, we did score and we made it a closer game, but it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
Both center Tyler Larson and Taylor Heineke, Tyler and Taylor, it's funny,
Yeah. No
would
shit.
go down in the same play in the fourth quarter. And I believe Larson was our third center, I think, and then Keith Ismail would come in, and he was our fourth center. So as
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, John Toth, who would be like our fifth practice squad center, I guess,
Yeah.
who like the male model
He's
guy that I
coming. He's
remember
coming in.
I mentioned that in some early episode, like in the beginning, that like,
Yeah.
oh,
We
we
talked
signed this
about him.
John Toth,
Talked about him, and
he's a male
now
model or plus size man, and now he's going
it's
to get to
paying
play.
off.
So
Now it's
hopefully he
paying
doesn't
off.
like fumble a couple balls, trying to snap it, but
Yeah.
we'll see. But
Yeah.
unless somebody else gets healthier, but when you get down to that string level at third and fourth string, like, I mean, shit, what's the difference? Like, give the guy an opportunity. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
pretty
Next
much
man up.
like
Next man up.
those guys are down there for a reason.
Yeah.
So, but if they produce, then great. But
Yeah.
hopefully by Tuesday we'll have more players back. But after Heineke went down, Kyle Allen came in and would lead Washington on a 13-play, 73-yard drive, capped with a touchdown by Jonathan Williams, who was just promoted from the practice squad. So that must have made his day for sure.
Probably.
Unfortunately, this time we were unsuccessful on the 2-point attempt and made the score 27-14.
Yeah. Yeah. That was.
Yeah. With about 5 minutes left in the game, Washington kicked the ball deep. 2 plays into the Dallas drive, Dak threw a pick six to Cole Holcomb with 4:13 left in the game.
Yeah. It really
So
started to seem like they had a
it seemed
shot.
like they might be
Like
coming back. I know. It was like that Cole Holcomb. I mean, it went right to him. I remember watching that. I was
yeah.
like, Dak, where
Yeah.
where were you throwing the ball, man?
Yeah,
Like,
because like fucking Cole just dropped back, and then like he was looking for Schultz, the tight end, and
uh-huh.
you could see Holcomb just like tracking the ball. He's like, okay, well I'm just gonna like turn and like pivot and go this way, and yeah, he
He's doing
just
that lurk move.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he was able to like take it back for the touchdown and really get him right back in it. So that was super positive. It seemed like they might do it because like you said, there was 4:13 left on the clock, but it was
Yeah, and then
unfortunate.
it was so it was 27-20. Then I assume we missed the 2-point conversion again, trying
No,
to
so
get
so
that.
what happened on that play was Brian Johnson attempted his one kick of the day, and it was a blocked extra point, which would have
Oh
cut the
yeah,
game
that's
within
right.
six. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So his
Which
only
is
kick
crazy.
attempt of the game was blocked. So hopefully Joey Sly
Mm.
only misses like one more game and he comes back. So
Yeah, dude, we need him back so bad. Absolutely. He's a solid kicker. I was very happy with his performance
yeah, we were
before he
happy
got
to have
hurt.
Joey when he filled in for Robbie too. Happy to have him.
Yeah. So at that point, that's where the score would stay. We did stop Dallas from scoring anymore. Towards the end of the game, though, Kyle Allen did throw a pick, I believe, at one point.
Um,
Right.
I don't think
I'm
he
pretty sure he did.
no, he didn't throw a pick. He ended up getting sacked on a drive that ended.
Remember the sack, but I could have sworn he threw a pick. I thought
No,
in the like one of the last drives he threw a pick.
no, he Kyle Allen was 4 out of 9 for 53 yards, no touchdowns, and no picks.
And no pick. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why I thought that. Maybe I just expected that or something. But I know towards the end of the game we had an opportunity there, and he did something, a poor pass.
yeah,
But
yeah.
hopefully Heineke will be back. Some good news going into the Eagles game, which has been postponed to Tuesday at 7 instead of on Sunday, which is nice.
Hmm.
John Allen, Montez Sweat, Casey Toohill, and James Smith-Williams are all supposed to be back for
Exactly.
the Eagles game. So, and that's really going to help. And our
Yeah,
defense, I mean, they already did pretty good against Dallas. So if
yeah.
we have all of them back, hopefully
Getting
if we can hold the
defensive-wise.
Eagles down and prevent them from scoring, and we get a couple more offensive players back. Terry cleared the concussion protocol, as I think I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
So hopefully by the time Tuesday at 7 o'clock comes around, maybe Heineke won't be on the COVID list anymore. That's really the biggest thing we can hope for. Like, I know he's not not an amazing great quarterback, and but
I mean
he does well, and
was
he's
playing
the
well.
heart
He
of the
was
team.
playing
And
well.
yeah, well, other than this Dallas game, he was playing very well.
We'll,
But I
we'll
know
play.
he's not an Aaron Rodgers or something like
Yeah,
that. But we need a guy that the team's behind, that's been there, can get wins. Like, if we go on with some practice squad quarterback, it's going to be a rough day. So it really depends what happens
absolutely.
here in the next 2 days in terms of the COVID list and who comes. I mean, at this point, I'd be happy to have Kyle Allen back. At least he knows
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
we,
and Kyle played pretty well. He led 2 touchdown drives in that game, so I mean, he definitely played serviceable.
All right, so that's about it for the shitty Dallas loss. the end of our streak. We do play the Eagles on Tuesday at 7, as I said. Hopefully, like I said, we have some more players back by then. As
Yep.
of this time, I cover the players that we do have coming back. Given the COVID protocols, if the players are vaccinated, like I believe Heineke is and Kyle Allen, if they're unvaccinated, they're asymptomatic and they produce a negative test, they can play.
I
So
think it's 2 negative tests, but
is it 2?
I think it's
I was
2
reading
negative
earlier
tests.
it was 1, but
Okay,
if it's 2, that makes it a little worse. But maybe
yeah.
I guess it depends how far apart the tests have to be. But my point is there is a chance that the players that are asymptomatic and vaccinated and all of that like especially like Heineke, because I feel like, or at least Kyle Allen, we need a quarterback that's in the system.
Right.
Hopefully in there. So with some luck, by that time he'll be back and maybe we can actually beat the Eagles. And then hopefully for the next Dallas game, we have a lot of people back and are back to at least mostly healthy and can maybe win out the last 3 games of the season. So
yeah, you guys got to hold on to that 7th spot, the 7th wild
yes,
card spot.
Yes, we do.
Definitely.
All right. Well, tune in next week. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners News Update. This week, we're going to recap the 26-23 overtime win against the Cincinnati Bengals, which advanced us up to 7-6 and kept us in position in the wild card race in the NFC playoffs at 6th. So
restful last game.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the ones this season that was definitely one of the most stressful. I mean, with the way that we'll get more into it, but yeah, very stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we talked about it on last week's show that I knew that the Bengals and Joe Burrow. I have a lot of respect for Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be a really really talented player, and I mean in his second year, he's already shown what he can do. And he definitely lit it up for over 300 yards against us and made it very close, taking that game into overtime at 20-20. And we'll get more into that right now. The game started, interestingly enough, with Jermichael Hasty back there returning kicks since Trenton Cannon was back there, or I'm sorry, since Trenton Cannon was injured a couple weeks back. With that kind of scary hit where he had to be taken off the field in an ambulance.
Yeah, that was a rough hit, dude. And seeing that the ambulance come out, you don't want to see that. Like,
yeah,
I don't really care what team it is or who it is, but you just
yeah. I mean, it's always bad when they go straight for the ambulance. They don't even bring out the cart. It's just that's always usually means like a player's like not moving well or something. But yeah, so Jermichael Hasty back there returning kicks. Our first drive, nothing to report about. I mean, we just went 3 and out on our first drive after 2 runs that really didn't get much, and then sack on 3rd down. The Bengals.
Fortunately, the Bengals did the same on their first drive, so at least it started out equally terrible for both teams.
Punt fest, punt fest. Yeah, it's always
punt, and then some field goals later on.
Yeah. So on our next drive, we would end up picking up a first down on a throw to Kittle. But then, unfortunately, the drive stalled out after that, and we ended up punting it right back. So again,
and yet another punt.
But we did kind of get an advantageous break here when Darius Phillips, the Bengals return man, muffed the punt, and River Craycraft. I always do that. River Craycraft recovered the fumble. So it was good to see him in there because he's activated.
Good old River and Craycroft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he made a good heads up play coming up with the ball there, and we'll get into why that muff is relevant here in a little bit. But that would set the Niners up in a really nice position where Jimmy on a 3rd and 5 would connect with Ayuk. But Trent Williams was called for a holding penalty, so that backed us up to 3rd and 14. So then we end up hitting Juwan Jennings for 12 yards, which that sets up a short field goal attempt of 33 yards that put us up 3-0. So another big play for Jennings. I mean, he's really been stepping up as our number 3.
Yeah,
receiver.
I wanted to say Juwan Jennings has really been looking very good. Yeah. I mean, it seems like his name just keeps coming up. And all the games, every game I keep watching, it's like Juwan Jennings, and he gets a couple good, really nice plays. So you guys have really got a good guy with him.
It is hard to earn Kyle Shanahan's trust as a rookie wide receiver. and he definitely has. I mean, he's
Yeah.
actually I shouldn't say he last year was his rookie season, but he missed the entire season. So this is more or less his rookie season. But it is technically his second year in the league. But yeah, he's been coming up big in the absence of Mohamed Sanu since he's been out. He was our number 3 receiver, so
Yeah,
he's
it's
been
always great
stepping
to
up.
see a backup kind of player come in and do as well as he's done. Like I mean, he in a lot of these games he's been one of the big names.
Yeah,
Like a lot of big plays he gets
yeah,
and
yeah. I mean the other game against the Vikings, I mean he had 1 touchdown and he would have had 2 if his knee didn't go down out of bounds. I mean
yeah,
he would have had a huge game, definitely the best game of
that
his.
was such a close call too.
Yeah,
Like
it was. It absolutely was. But yeah, with the Niners up 3-0, I mean the Bengals would answer back on a 10-play drive and add a 37-yard Evan McPherson field goal. Evan McPherson, that tied the game up at 3-3. That kid's a banger. He's got 7 field goals of over 50 yards made already as a rookie. So the
wow,
Bengals have themselves a kid that can really drive the shit out of the football. So he hit a 37-yard there, so probably in his element a chip shot. But yeah, that tied the
right.
game up at 3-3. After that, the Niners would respond with our best drive of the day to that point on a 6-play 75-yard drive capped with a 27-yard Debo Samuel rushing touchdown, which would be his 6th of the season, and 11th total touchdown. So 6 on the ground to go with his 5 receiving touchdowns.
I would
And
say the argument could be made that Debo Samuel is the best player on the San Francisco 49ers. I would say.
yeah, I mean, I would think that the only argument as far as that goes might be, the big silverback Trent Williams.
That's a good point. You're
Like,
right. Yeah,
yeah, I
I could
mean,
I could see that as well. That's
but
a good
yeah,
point.
outside of that, and then you got to give some recognition to Kittle as well. But yeah, all of the, but yeah,
Very
I mean,
true.
Debo Samuel, like definitely for what he does, there hasn't been a player that I mean, because there's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
his
of receivers.
multifaceted approach,
Yeah,
like how he
yeah,
he does so much on the field. And any player, like I've said many times, like I like Taysom Hill. Like just the fact
mm,
that he goes out there and does all
yeah,
these different things. It's like it's really hard not to respect that. So to see a guy like Debo Samuel go out and he's running, he's catching passes,
yeah,
he's throwing passes
yeah,
sometimes. I
yeah.
mean, like
He
you
does it
love
all.
to see
He
that.
does it all.
It's just nothing
Yeah.
better to see than that.
Yeah, he's almost like the Swiss Army knife. He can
Yeah,
do it all.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we've got so many guys like that. We've got a guy like Hughesjack that can do
Yeah,
so
I
many
was
different
thinking he's
things.
checked too.
Yeah.
Yep, and
So just so many guys that can do so many different things, which makes our offense just like when it's clicking and Jimmy's getting the ball out quick. We're just so
Mhm.
explosive. But yeah, I mean, on the Bengals' next drive, Joey Burrow throws a pick to Jimmy Ward. It would have been his 3rd pick of the season if it wouldn't have been for an illegal hands to the face call by Ambry Thomas, our rookie corner, who
Yeah,
was getting
Ambry
this.
Thomas, he's the rookie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Ambry Thomas getting the start in place of Emmanuel Mosley, who was missing his
Right.
second game with the ankle injury. So hopefully he's back soon because Ambry Thomas, he's made some good plays, but he's definitely been burned and made some costly
That's
fools.
probably why, like they probably like to throw towards him because they know he's a rookie and he might be prone to
Absolutely.
mistakes. So, when that happened, they're probably like they're real happy to see it because I mean, unfortunately he did that, but he seems like he could be a good corner. So hopefully he can learn with some time.
Yeah, and I mean he's a rookie, and I mean all corners like are going to go through that process. There's not a corner out there that's never been burned, and
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean it's just something that they have to go through, and you just got to have a short memory and just move on. And I mean they've got would have been interesting. I know we talked about on earlier shows if the Niners would have brought in Richard Sherman, and I know we didn't, and the Buccaneers did. But
Hmm.
for the sake of the fact that we have Diamador Lenore and Ambry Thomas alone, I would have liked to see us bring Sherman to like give us
Yeah.
an All Pro experience with the rookies.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say the
And
veteran experience to have him in
yeah,
there to help them along, teach
yeah.
them some things, and yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like
And
that would have been a good opportunity for them.
and Sherm's a great veteran player that no offense to Josh Norman because I'm sure Josh Norman is helpful to the younger players, but I feel like Sherm is really a guy that would want to teach the younger players from like his vibe and everything.
I
Whereas
agree.
like yeah, I don't know if like Josh Norman is the same like on the field type of player coach, like whereas like Sherm definitely was.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I mean, I think that leadership's definitely missed, and yeah, I mean, just an odd comment on that. Mentioning the fact that we have two young rookie corners out there. I think we could have benefited from that,
No,
but
yeah, I definitely agree. I think they could have helped,
yeah,
to teach them and maybe prevent some mistakes and even go in when, I mean, Sherman, he was still a good player. So I mean, he's dealt with some stuff in the off
yeah,
season and his own,
and some injuries.
mental health struggles and some injuries. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think that would have been a good. I mean, because he's already been on the team. Bringing back players that already know a system that
yeah.
you can work with is really big sometimes.
And I remember when we talked about it, like Sherm signed off the street. He hadn't played football all season for the Buccaneers, and he played like 78 out of 82 snaps. Like his first game back, I was like, that is like Iron Man status. I was like, dude hadn't played like, and I know he had some injury issues after that with his hamstring, but I mean, it's just impressive that he was able to go that many plays.
Yeah, definitely.
But
How old is Richard Sherman? Like 32 or something like that?
I want to say he's
Maybe.
32. Yeah, let's
Uh,
let's let's
if that's what it is, I was kind of a guess, but I'm pretty sure he's over 30. So
yeah, let's take a look here. But anyway,
crazy.
yeah,
It's like that's like basically our age. Like what the fuck?
I was gonna say since yeah, let's see, 33. Okay,
33. All right,
yeah.
so pretty
So
close.
yeah. Anyway, what was I going to? Oh yeah. So since that penalty wiped out the interception, it gave the Bengals the opportunity to keep moving with the ball, and they would end up scoring on a 37-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. However, it would end up being reviewed and overturned. Um, so they ended up having to settle for a field goal to make it 10-6. McPherson's second field goal of the game. But what was notable about that was Fred Warner would end up getting banged up on the drive. He obviously was just coming back. He had missed one game, so definitely didn't want to see that. Now he would end up returning, so it wasn't anything super concerning. But anytime you see Fred Warner, the captain of the defense, go down and he's got to leave for even one play, it's
Yeah,
like
you don't want to see those
ugh,
key players go down. Like
no,
like
not
when
at
Chase
all.
Young went down for
Yeah,
Washington. It's like
absolutely.
you don't. No one wants to see that. It's like even the rival team should, if they're not assholes, should be like, well, we don't really want to see that. That's
Yeah,
you want to beat the team in its prime. You don't want to win a game against a depleted team.
right.
Just isn't
Yeah,
isn't the same. At least
right.
in my opinion.
No, I agree. Yeah, that definitely doesn't have the same merit or bragging rights. I mean, you'll always take a win, but yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Like if
yeah,
Dallas is just completely fucked with injuries, like I'll take the win. I'm not going to
yeah,
complain, but
yeah.
at the
Especially
same
with
time, though,
yeah,
I in the back of my head, I'm gonna be like, well, it would be nice if to beat
right,
them, to beat a team in its prime, and not have to win that way. But
yeah,
definitely, always take a win.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so I mean, at that point we're up 10-6, and there's 142 left on the clock. Um, and on a third and 14, Jimmy hits Travis Benjamin on a deep pass. It was a beautifully thrown deep pass. I've noticed they've been taking a couple more deep shots with him lately. So they hit Travis Benjamin, who honestly doesn't have any catches on the season. I think he's been targeted like 6 times, doesn't have one catch on the season. I don't know why we keep using him, especially when we have River Craycraft on the team. Give River a chance. It's like let River run some routes in the offense because Travis Benjamin, Jimmy hits him right in the hands on a deep pass, and it got knocked away by the defender, which would force a punt. Now we ended up like not being too badly affected because this is why I told you this would be relevant earlier. But Darius Phillips would muff his second punt of the day, and this time it would be another one of the Niners receivers coming up with it on special teams. It was Trent Shearfield. So River came up with the first one. Trent came up with the second one. Sets the Niners up beautifully um, in already in Bengals territory. And Jimmy, after one play, hits Kittle for his sixth touchdown catch of the season, which is a new career high. Kittle's had 5 touchdowns a couple times in his career, but that's establishing a new career high for him.
Yeah, that was a big play. Like after that, like
Yeah,
And which is funny, Darius Phillips muffing his second punt. I wonder if he got benched after that. Did he
he
return
did.
any more punts after
No,
that? He did.
no.
Okay.
Stanley Berryhill was in after that. I
Oh,
was going to mention that.
okay. So he did get benched.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one time is like, yeah, maybe I'll give you some slack, but I
one
mean,
time
Jesus.
shame on me, two times fuck you. It's like
Yeah,
I can't do it. Yeah, he can't be the reason you lose the game. And I mean, he probably was. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Jimmy connects with Kittle with 18 seconds remaining. In the half, so definitely not enough time for the Bengals to really do anything with that. So we would take a 17-6 lead into the half. So that's always pretty good against a tough team in the Bengals that I knew was going to give us, a run for our money, and then they certainly did.
so
So
at
then,
that point, it looked like it was going to be a bit of more of an easy win, but obviously it didn't turn out that way. But with 17-6 at the half, it seemed like it might be going a little easier.
yeah, I just know with Boyd and Jamar Chase and the other I always forget their third receiver's name. It's
I honestly could not tell you,
yeah.
but especially the fact that starting the second half, the Niners' first drive that led them to a field goal to put them ahead 20-6. So I
Yeah.
mean, at that point, I was feeling especially
Yeah.
confident. I'm like, well, shit, dude, 20-6.
It started to look pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, it did. But then the Bengals put together a pretty long drive. It would stall out after we would get to Burrow on third down, forcing the Bengals to try a 46-yard field goal, which he actually missed. So McPherson did miss his first field goal of the day. Previously, he was 2 for 2. Um, and we held the Bengals out of the end zone actually all the way until there was 9:20 to play in the fourth quarter, when Joe Burrow found Jamar Chase in the back of the end zone. This one did count for an impressive touchdown. It was a very impressive touchdown in the back of the end zone to make the game 20-13.
Yeah, I feel like I remember seeing that one. It was a really nice catch.
Yeah, I mean Jamar Chase is an insane rookie. He's you know set Bengals rookie records that had previously been established by Chris Collinsworth. So he's just gone off on what he's done as the
Jesus,
Bengals
by
rookie.
Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah,
What was that? Like 50 years ago?
yeah,
Probably like 30, but
it was in the 80s. It was in the 80s. Yeah,
that would be about 40 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Damn.
And then let's see here. So yeah, so as we're trying to run out the clock, up 20-13, we would end up picking up a first down and taking some time off the clock. But then Jimmy would end up taking his fourth sack of the game on third down, and the Niners would have to punt it back with 6:40 left on the clock. So we were able to run, 2 or 3 minutes off the clock, but not obviously take more time off there, and obviously not able to add more points to it. Um, we would, however, stop Cincinnati on the next drive when when Kwan Williams would sack Burrow on third down. So the sacks were pretty evenly matched. I want to say they were. Let's see.
Yeah, there were plenty on both sides of that game.
Yeah, I want to say it was like the Bengals had 4 and we had 3. Let me verify that. It was like in the Washington game, like Dallas had 5 and you guys had 4. So it was like,
Yeah, I don't even know how the hell we got that. I mean, just
Landon Collins had 2.
yeah,
John
and
Allen
that's
had
the
1.
big point of it. But yeah, big part of it. But yeah, that just like looking at the stats at the end of
Oh,
that
okay.
game, and like after watching it, I was like blown away.
Yeah, both teams had 5 sacks in this game.
Yeah,
So
damn.
I always like to get into the sacks. Obviously, you know, we're always tracking his numbers. Um, Bosa had 2 in the game, so that brings his number to. I want to get the current number here. 14
Wasn't
on
it
the season. Yeah,
14? Okay.
yeah. So he's at 14, and they're talking about how he's got a chance to potentially break the Niners' all-time sack record with 4 games to go, which is 19 and a half. So he's five and a half away. So he would need 6 sacks. Which, I mean, with the kind of season he's had, like it would be difficult, but I mean, if anybody can do it, especially with the kind of season he's having. And even if he doesn't do it this season, it's a
Yeah,
good
I mean, he
chance he'll.
definitely has a chance this season, though. He's real close.
Yeah, yeah, he is. He is. I remember when Alden Smith set that record.
Damn.
At 19 and a half, and I didn't think that anybody would ever break that, but he he just might. We'll have to see. But yeah, so 5 sacks apiece. Bosa had two. Kwan Williams had one. Aziz Alshire had one, and then Samson Ibukam and Arden Key split one. Arden Key's got 4 sacks as a backup defensive lineman. So getting him from the Raiders, he's been a big acquisition as far as providing depth. Really
Yeah,
glad to have him.
absolutely.
Yeah, but let's get back to just capping off this real quick. Where was I? I was at the Kwan Williams sack of um so yeah, we would get them to punt it back. So we'd take the clock down under 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, but then the Bengals would have us punt it back. So our offense really stalled out in the second half, and we ended up having to. Really, we were punting a lot in the second half. We just weren't able to sustain drives, and it was pretty frustrating. But on the first play of the ensuing Bengals drive, Bosa would end up picking up his 13th sack. One of those two. And then with 119 left on the clock, Burrow hits Jamar Chase for his second touchdown of the game. And then the extra point would be good. So that ties the game up. So with 119, tie game, really, frustrating situation considering.
Yeah, then this is the part where it
26.
gets real stressful.
Yeah, yeah. From here it was definitely a lot different. So we'll get into that. So yeah, the drive, our next drive was good. It was solid, but Jimmy hits Kittle on a 19-yard gain, where Kittle makes a fantastic leaping catch to move the Niners into range for a 47-yard field goal attempt. So Jimmy on that last drive in regulation really set us up to win the game, except Robbie missed the field goal 47 yards wide right. And Robbie's still been having a pretty good season overall, but that miss was obviously key. I
Yeah,
think
that was a big miss.
yeah, he ended up missing. I want to say he missed one the week before, and I know he's missed one extra point on the season. So yeah, let's see here. So he missed. No, he didn't miss one against the Seahawks. Okay, no. So in his last 3 games, he missed one against the Bengals. He was 2 out of 3 and made 2 out of 2 extra points. With the Seahawks, he was 1 for 1 on field goals and 2 for 3 on extra points. So he did miss a kick.
Okay,
then.
so he missed an extra point.
And then against the Vikings, he was 2 for 3 on field goals and 4 for 4. So in his last 3 games, he's missed at least one kick in each. So we know he was hurt. He was on injured reserve, and we had to sign Joey Sly, who you guys ended up getting after us, for 3 games. But he came back.
And we need him back.
Yeah, you guys do, especially with Brian Johnson not being the best. But yeah, he came back off injured reserve, and he made all his kicks for the first 3 weeks. So I don't know if it's injury related or what, but he definitely needs to pull it together, especially if we're going to make a playoff run.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jimmy got us in range, for a 47-yard field goal attempt. Obviously, that's no gimme, but definitely a field goal you would expect Robbie. Robbie's one of the greatest kickers of all time. Robbie's a phenomenal kicker. You'd expect him to make that.
Absolutely.
Just, So then, yeah. So then the game goes to fucking overtime, which I hate overtime. Overtime.
Oh yeah, and then they win the coin toss and get the ball first.
Hate
it's
overtime,
like,
dude.
Fuck.
There's no moment, and if you don't know this about me, actually I should say this, most of the time I usually don't give a shit, but if it's the team that I'm all about and they're in overtime, I just because one play could sink you.
Yeah.
It's just one broken run, one missed tackle, and your game's over. and that's it, without getting a chance to retaliate. So the Bengals, of course, win the toss, as we mentioned, and it's like, shit, this is rough. So, oh, T. Higgins is the other receiver. That's right, because it's relevant here. Higgins. I don't know why I can never remember that. But, so, Bengals get the ball first. First play of overtime. Burrow finds T. Higgins for a huge gain, which gets the damn Bengals already into field goal range. And I mean, Burrow was dealing on the day. I know I mentioned it earlier. His final numbers on the day: 25 of 34, 348 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. As usual, the Niners, played pretty well against the run. Mixon, their running back, had 18 carries for 58 yards. So not much on the ground, but yeah, I mean they killed us on the ground, especially Jamar Chase. He had 2 touchdown catches. But yeah, so they're already in field goal range after one huge play, and it's like, all right, what's already adding to a stressful situation has now gotten even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, and luckily, in godlike human form, Nick Bosa would come through for his 14th sack of the season and fucking just like force the Bengals to kick a 41-yard field. So it knocked him a little bit back, a little bit further back. He still ended up making it, but obviously, bless Nick bless Nick Bosa for getting to the quarterback and
At that
forcing
point,
that
when they
play.
did get that field goal, though, I was like, man, fuck. Like
Yeah,
there's one drive left,
I didn't love it.
basically.
I didn't love it, but especially with how he'd been playing in the second half. But Jimmy is really good about like when there's like not a lot of time left in the game and he needs a drive. I don't know if I'm not saying that he's Tom Brady. Obviously, I'm not saying that. But it's almost like he like got that, because that is one of his better things about his game.
It is.
Because I'll mention several situations against the Green Bay Packers. We were down, and then he led us down to what seemed like the game winner. We just left 36 seconds, and Aaron Rodgers is fucking Aaron Rodgers, and
Yeah, that was.
like, but that should have been a win. That should have been a win. Like, and then in this game, like, we'll get into it. So the Niners get a chance to retort, to respond, and Jimmy on this drive has probably his best throw of the game when he found Jennings on a back shoulder throw. Do you remember that? Like Jennings doing like the
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, dude. And then,
Jimmy
and like
with.
I was saying earlier, Jennings, man,
Yeah.
he's been balling out, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's been
Yeah.
great for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, even the people that hate hate on Jimmy have to respond and say that that was probably one of his better catches. And yeah, as you mentioned, Jennings, 3 catches for 46 yards. So definitely a good game on 5 targets. So he played well. Now Kittle balled out, and we're going to talk about why that's relevant in a second. For the second straight game after getting like 181 against Seattle last week, Kittle had 13 catches, 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Ayuk had 6 catches, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. Debo, for the second straight week, only 1 catch for 22 yards, but he did have 8 carries for 37 yards in that rushing touchdown we mentioned. But yeah, I mean, it was really only him and Jeff Wilson running the ball since Elijah Mitchell was out, and Jeff Wilson had 13 carries for 56 yards. But yeah, Jimmy. Let's get back to that final drive. So he finds Jennings, and then Jimmy would hit Ayuk in the flat on a play that Ayuk turned all the way upfield on I believe it was a 12-yard play. He hits Ayuk like short in the flat, and Ayuk, doing what he does with the yard after catch game, making it all the way. And then it seemed like he went airborne like the final 2 yards, and got in for a touchdown for the Niners to win the game, 26-23 in overtime, in a stressful ass game to go to
Yeah,
seven and
way too
six.
stressful. Like shit, when it comes down to like that kind of thing, where it's like this is a drive here. If nothing happens here, like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
damn nail biter.
But on that final drive, and this is what I wanted to bring up, Jimmy was 6 for 6. So, like I said, when the game's on the line, like Jimmy almost plays some of his best football.
That's what counts, man. You gotta be able to perform under pressure. You can't pull a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, yeah. And that's that's the thing because we could have had Kirk Cousins, and that's one thing that Jimmy has over Kirk Cousins. Like they're very similar as far as the ceiling, but
Yeah,
Jimmy under pressure in like big game situations, clearly better than Kirk Cousins.
definitely.
Like Jimmy did, I know the Super Bowl. Everybody's gonna mention the Super Bowl, but Kirk's never even gotten a sniff of the Super Bowl. So like let's face facts
That
here.
Super Bowl was painful. Like no one
It
needs to
was.
no one needs to
It
remember
was.
that.
Hopefully we can redeem it with a deep run into the playoffs this year. We're getting hot at the right
Definitely.
time. We've won 4 out of 5. So
Yeah,
I mean
definitely. I mean, another
it's a
win
good
next
team.
week, you'll be 8-6.
Yeah, so we've got the Atlanta Falcons. Let's talk about that real quick before we get off there. Now, the Atlanta Falcons on paper, looks like it could be an easy win, but before we jump the gun on that, like I don't know. And I know I always say this, but that's because it's the NFL and I always look at it realistically. And there are weapons. Now, Matt Ryan has played in the NFL for like 106 fucking years. So, I mean, obviously the man's got experience and he's played in a Super Bowl, ironically, with Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator in 2016. So, that was the game they lost after being up 28-3 at the half. But yeah. And anyway, but they have I mean they have a lot. They have Cordero Patterson, who is like an older version of like Debo. He's like not as explosive, but like he does the same kind of thing where they line him up as a running back and a receiver. They have Kyle Pitts, who I really like as a rookie tight end. He's a physically gifted specimen. Just
Yeah, he
just
looks
really
huge. Like you
he's
can just
huge.
tell
He's
next
a
next to the
monster,
other
dude.
players.
He's a
Oh my
monster. He's
God,
like
I was
6'7",
noticing that.
dude.
I was like,
Yeah.
that dude is fucking
He's a that,
huge.
that's why they used like the fourth pick on him, dude. Because Atlanta was
Yeah,
like, well, we could get a
solid
quarterback,
pick.
or we could get this fucking guy that's gonna dominate the tight end game for the next fucking 10 to 12 years.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's what they did because they figured Matt Ryan still had a good and he's been playing decent. Matt Ryan hasn't been playing like he's got 17 touchdowns, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on the season so far. So mid-range season for sure.
yeah.
I mean, that's right around where Jimmy's at. Jimmy's got 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So Jimmy has been managing his interceptions well, though. Knock on wood that it continues against Atlanta. Um, but yeah, Jimmy in this game, or let's just give you his numbers real quick: 27 for 41, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So that was definitely awesome.
Pretty
And
solid game.
yeah, and I don't think we had. Yeah, the Niners we won the turnover battle 2-0. The only 2 turnovers were those 2 muffed punts. So that was relevant because we got
And that
points
wins
off both
games.
of them. Yeah, and we got 10 points off those for sure. So it was notable. But yeah, so Atlanta, they've got some weapons. Um, their defense is not great, but like they're towards the end of the pack. So I definitely look for our defense to give them trouble and definitely get to the quarterback a couple times. Hopefully Bosa can get at least one more sack, maybe 2 or 3 more, get closer to that Niners sack record. But yeah, I mean a win moves us up to 8-6, and like we need to win to stay in the sixth spot because that kind of
Yep.
like fucks up everything. Like we start sliding down. Like if we knock down, then like we knock you guys out, and then it's like we can't have that. We all got to keep winning. Like we just got to keep the momentum going because we can't knock down to 7. Because if we knock down to 7, we knock you guys out. So it's like we don't want to knock down to 7. We just want to keep on winning. We need the team to go out and beat the Eagles because the Eagles are also in the NFC wild card spot, so that helps us all if you guys beat
Yeah.
the Eagles. Just like when we helped you guys inadvertently kind of beat the Falcons today. Now we need you guys to help us beat the Eagles. So it's all
I
it's
mean,
all
beating the Eagles is a little bit. Actually, I guess not because Dallas is going to win
people
the
help
division
people
for sure.
helping
So.
people. People helping people. We're all just a union here. The colors are pretty similar. See,
They are actually, which is funny.
from the banners, yeah, banners,
Yeah, look at that. It's
yeah,
like I
yeah,
mean, you can tell
yeah,
it's a little deeper
pretty
red and it's a
similar,
little bit
yeah,
of a different
yeah,
gold, but
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty damn similar.
yeah. So yeah, hopefully we can stay hot. I mean, besides one loss to Seattle, and one loss for you guys to Dallas. I mean, we've both won 4 out of 5, so both teams have been really fucking hot. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna put a graphic up on the screen here, and I know I've shown you this graphic before, but the hottest teams in the NFC since like the midpoint of the season.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that shows you where the Niners and Washington have been since then. So obviously two of the hottest teams in football. So definitely need to just keep winning out. This is where each game matters. I mean, played your ass off all season to get to this point right here, and to be in the mix, and both teams are.
All about that December football.
Yep, that's all you can do. And both teams are pretty good at running the ball. I mean, just got to keep it going.
Yeah, as
And
long as Gibson stops fumbling the ball, but yeah.
yeah. Williams beat Gore on split decision 38-37, 37-38, and then 40-35 on the three judges. So, I mean, it seemed like it was close, but Woodley, not Woodley. Woodley was the guy that fought Paul. But as far as strikes landed, Williams landed 48 and Gore landed 39. And as far as the percentage of punches, so Williams connected with 48 out of 156 for 31% connection rate. Gore hit 39 of 166 for 24. So definitely, I mean, it was a good effort for his first fight ever. I mean, Deron Williams has fought before a little bit, so I mean, he obviously
The
had
numbers
the
make
edge.
it sound like better than it looks. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
watching some of it, it
For
it
yeah,
didn't.
it didn't look that close. It
Kind of
looked
like
like
that Cowboys Washington game that ended 27-20.
yeah.
Like you look at
Some
the stats and you don't really see how shitty it was.
Sometimes you get those
Like
inflated numbers. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just wanted to cover that real quick. We will see if Frank decides to pursue any additional fights and how he does if that does happen, if that does transpire. We will certainly cover that. But yeah, just wanted to get into that and mention that real quick. But definitely, kudos to him for trying it. You know, takes a lot of effort to go out there and like we talked about with the Vaccaro situation the other week. It takes a decent amount of risk to go out there and try something that you've never really done before.
yeah, definitely.
Join us next week when we recap the Atlanta game, and hopefully it's another win. But we'll see. I mean, last time we played Atlanta, I have terrible memories of that game, so looking to looking to erase those from my mind. It was in 2019, and we were like the way better team. And we may
Yeah,
have
it really
actually,
didn't make sense.
yeah, and they beat us. Um, right at some bullshit at the end of the game. We may have even played them last season, honestly. But let me even see. I'm curious because I know if we did, they beat us too. Sons of bitches. No, I think it was. No, thank God, it was 2019. Okay, yeah. See, that's how paranoid I am of the Falcons, bud. So yeah, they beat us 29-22. That bullshit. When we were 11-3 and they were 5-9, they had nothing to play for, and we were on our way to the bowl.
uh,
So like I have fucking bad mem. Although these Falcons don't have Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley is dealing with personal issues, and obviously we hope that he's getting the help he needs dealing with that, obviously. But happy that he won't be on the field this Sunday because Calvin Ridley's pretty good.
yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and you guys have a good night. Go Niners. And that's going to do it for our show this week. Thank you for joining us on the Extra Point Show, as always. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're not already, and follow us on Twitter at the Extra Point Show. We also have Facebook and Instagram as well. So be sure to check us out on all of those platforms, and come back next week for next week's episode as we recap all the NFL news and latest games.
See everybody next week for the recap of this crazy COVID week with these random games on different days.
football on a Tuesday and Monday and Sunday and
And
Saturday
Saturday, and
and
yeah.
whichever.
Gotta
We'll see.
love it though. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not complaining.
I absolutely love it. I love it. But yeah, join us next week and good night, everybody.
Have a good night.